So, let's get into it. Bullet Train from the year 2022. So, last year, I just watched this now for the first time. It's on Amazon Prime. Just like Schindler's List is, at least for me in Canada. I'll do the basic plot, but I'm not going to. I'll try not to ruin anything in case anyone hasn't seen this yet. But basically, my nose. We're gonna get through this, but Brad Pitt is an assassin, and he's been sent to snatch a briefcase, and that's his assigned job. But there's also other people on this train, that are hired for different reasons, for different criminal jobs, and it all takes place on this bullet train in Japan. And there's lots of little intricacies and things change all throughout the movie, and it was a little bit much to follow at times, but I think I got it all at the end for the most part. And like I was saying, this movie's long, but it's not as long as Schindler's List, and I have way more notes for this than I had for Schindler's List, because this was fun. I didn't hate it, but it's fluff. It's a action movie. It's a popcorn movie. It's not as like a classically well made piece of cinema, but there's some elements that are. But there's just a lot. There's some elements that are just maybe a little bit much for me at times, I would say. Anyway, we'll get into it. Let's look at the Rotten Tomatoes first. So 53% it gets for Rotten Tomatoes. Which isn't great. Honestly, I thought it was going to be better for the critic score, because I heard generally good things about this, but I guess most of what I heard good was the audience, and the audience score is significantly higher at 76%. So let's read the critics' consensus. Bullet trains, colorful cast, and high-speed action are almost enough to keep things going after the story runs out of track. So I kind of get what they mean by that, but I think that it is, like, it's fun enough to have a good time. There's enough there to keep you entertained. But the audience says, it could have been more entertaining ride, but if you're in the mood for a decent thriller to pass the time, Bullet Train will get you where you want to go. I agree with that. It's not bad. I'm definitely more on the audience side with this one. Let's go with some of the reviews. Let's see what the people say about it. A blast. The film works because Brad Pitt is really fun and engaging guy. It's not fatal that Leach and company have no evident goal other than to amuse audiences with 2 hours of spiffy nonsense, but there's a whiff of try-hard desperation behind the film's bravado. I kind of get what they're saying there. There are times when it just seems like the movie's trying so hard to be cool, or to add a ridiculous set piece that doesn't make any sense. And again, we'll get into that with my notes, but we're not there yet. The largely entertaining action flick Bullet Train rolls along on the power of Brad Pitt's megawatt charisma, and sometimes on that alone. Brad Pitt is a good actor. He does a good job here, as he always does. But there's more than just him to keep this thing going, to keep this train going, chugga, if you will. I like all the Thomas the Tank Engine stuff. There's a character that's obsessed with Thomas the Tank Engine, and he's able to read people because of the show. He's learned live lessons from it, and it's constantly talked about, but it's not done enough that it's annoying. I think it's interesting, actually. It sort of adds a layer to the movie. As it poorly emulates Tarantino and Guy Ritchie, the action picture ends up as a cartoonish mess, an exhausting watch, more than an entertaining popcorn flick. Yeah, I kind of get what they're saying, but I'm more on the other side of it. That I think that it has enough pizzazz and explosions and stuff to keep you entertained. Does it go over the top sometimes? Yeah. But, that kind of thing you can expect with these big budget action movies. Anyways, that's Bullet Train's Rotten Tomatoes page. Let's look at the IMDb page. It has a 7.3 out of 10, which is pretty good. let's look at the cast. Obviously, Brad Pitt plays Ladybug. And Michael Shannon, I recognize as White Death. He's in other stuff. Masioka, I've seen, I think he's in the show Heroes, which I've never seen, but I think he's in that. He was in this, and I don't really know any. Bad Bunny. I didn't know who he was, but I know that name, so now I can put a face to the name. Bad Bunny, the artist, was Wolf, so that's interesting. I don't really know any songs by Bad Bunny. Is Bad Bunny good? I don't even know. I've heard he's more of a good bunny than a bad. I heard he's not that bad. But it's just a fun name, I guess. That's part of the image. I'm a bad bunny. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, let's go and check out the box office information. Did this movie make money? This movie had an $85 million budget, $85,900,000 budget estimated, with a gross of $239 million. That's pretty good. It made some money. That is for sure. So yeah, that's the IMDb page. Let's get into the notes. Let's get down to the nitty gritty, folks, because I have quite a few notes for this one, even compared to the last movie where it was longer, but I have less, which isn't usually how it happens. But there was just not many notes to give Schindler's List because it's nearly perfect. Anyway, bullet train notes. If Handler knows about firecrackers, why doesn't she know about the sleeping powder? So this is just something with the dialogue that I was just mildly confused with. You could make sense out of it if you tried hard enough, but to me it was confusing because the handler is the person talking to Brad Pitt and walking him through the mission. And she's saying, it's like, we got you the firecrackers. And then she asks him, did you order the sleeping powder? And to me it's like, aren't these the supplies that you got him if you got him the firecrackers too? So I was confused by that, why she doesn't know about the sleeping powder, but she knows about the firecrackers. I just thought that didn't make sense to me personally. You could say like, oh, maybe Brad Pitt got those on his own or whatever. Then why is it already in the locker with the other stuff? So I don't know. Maybe it makes sense, but it wasn't explained well enough for me. Anyway, I'm just going to move on. Real cars getting trashed. So a lot of this is CGI, but there was one part where I saw there was a car crash. I think it's when the White Death's wife gets hit by a car or something. I think it looked real. I wasn't sure. It could have been CGI, but I thought it looked good if it was CGI. So, real cars getting trashed? Question mark. I'm not sure, but it looked real. At least for that one part. Definitely a lot of the train crashes and all that shit's definitely CGI. But the real cars, possibly for that one scene, maybe. I was curious, but I'm not sure. Is there no cameras or security on trains? So this is one of the things that I'm just sort of like, really? I don't know if this is how it would work in reality, because there's all these people killing each other, shit going down on this train, people dying. There's like little to no security. There's no cameras. It's just they're able to walk all about the different classes of train, like first class or whatever. They can just walk all over willy-nilly. It doesn't, like, I don't know how a bullet train in Japan operates, but it doesn't seem like that's how it would work. Personally, so I was surprised to see that in the movie. It didn't make sense to me that I would have thought there would be cameras of security. Anyway, I'm moving on. Next note. It's crazy that this is sort of similar to the other note, but it's a little different. Crazy that no one notices them fighting on the quiet train. So this is part of the comedy too. They're like fighting each other, but they're like loud, and there's other people in this train car that's supposed to be the quiet part of the train, and they're like fighting, and part of the joke is they keep getting shush, but my point is that someone would have noticed them fighting. They just would have. It's no way that they would have gotten away with that. It doesn't make any sense. That's one of my main notes for this movie, is that more people would notice the shit going on, and try to tell somebody or something. But anyways, moving on. That was basically the other note anyway. My next note is Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum is in this movie. He's in it for a very small period, but he's in there. My next note, that's all I'm going to say about that. I was just kind of surprised. Continuity with White Death's son's bloody eyes is inconsistent. So, there's a part where, and this is actually sort of a recurring thing, where this snake venom gets injected in people, and then their eyes bleed out and they die. So this happens to the White Death's son, and we see this happen to him, and then later on we see him getting it wiped off, but then later it's back to the drops on his face. So it's like, if they got wiped off earlier, why are they there again? It doesn't make any sense. Why he's got the blood on his face again. So, and the continuity on that seemed odd. It seemed like it kept going back and forth. So it didn't make sense to me. Maybe it did to the makers of the film, but I didn't get that. Anyway, moving on. People allowed to walk all over the train no matter what kind of ticket they have doesn't make sense. So I already said that, kind of, but yeah, just the fact that people are able to walk around willy-nilly, there seems to be no security, no cameras. People can just walk into first class even if they bought a coach ticket. I don't know how a Japanese bullet train works, but it would seem like that they would be stopped for doing that. But people can just walk all over the train willy-nilly the whole time. It doesn't seem to matter, which seems crazy to me. So jumping on the train and them almost flying off the train is a bit much. So this is another one of my main problems with the movie, is that it's just, there's too many things that are too over the top and too unrealistic, that don't make sense. One of them mainly being like people just like being able to jump on this train that's at a very high speed, and you're able to just like climb into the train. It's just no, it's going too fast. You wouldn't have been able to catch it. You're not gonna be able to just punch in that window and get in. I'm not buying it. Anyway, moving on. Next note. Jumping. Oh, I already read that. Brad Pitt should just leave the girl on the train. So, I guess that's sort of the point. His character is well-intentioned, and he wants to help people, and he thinks that this innocent-looking little girl is, I say little girl, but she's like 19 or 20 or whatever, something like that. They don't say her age, but she's a youngish woman, and she seems innocent, but I don't think I'm really spoiling much because you find this out pretty quick. She turns out to actually be one of the bad guys, but Brad Pitt is focused on getting them both off the train, but she's pretending to be stuck. But Brad Pitt could have got off and escaped, and he should have, but he didn't. But he didn't know that she was evil, so I guess it's excusable. But I was still like, no, just let her rot. She's the bad guy. The whole time it's like, this bitch better get her comeuppance, because she's awful. Like, knocking down kids off of roofs and shooting people that don't deserve it. She's no good. Anyway, moving on. What's the next note I have here? Kind of crazy that the elder son is alive. So this is not only the elder son. There's a few different characters that you think that they're dead, and it would make sense that they would be dead, but then they're just not. This happens a few times in the movie with different characters, and it's just like, no, they'd be dead though. They'd be dead. And I think I have more notes about that, about certain characters. But yeah, this guy gets shot in the chest, and he's in this bathroom bleeding out for like hours, and he's just fine later. Okay, maybe. I do hear that when you get your stomach bled out, it takes longer, I guess, so maybe to die, but still, I don't know. He would still be pretty fucked up bleeding out that long, I think. Anyway, so yeah, I think he would have been dead, but maybe his makes more sense than some of the other ones, and we'll get into that. What's my next note here? How was Brad Pitt able to evade the conductor so many times? So it's established at the beginning of the movie that Brad Pitt goes on the train, but he lost his ticket to the train. So he only has his receipt. So he proves that he bought a ticket. So the conductor says, you can stay, but just for one stop. But then Brad Pitt just doesn't. And he stays on the train the whole time. Which, you know, it's fine if they explained how the conductor isn't stopping him better. But, like, he's just not on. There's one part where he's like, oh, the conductor's coming. But that's it. For the whole 2 hour and 15-minute movie or whatever, he's just walking around fancy free all over the train, and there's no problems. Like I said again, there's no cameras too, apparently, which I think there would be. And yeah, Brad Pitt can just walk around. Where's the conductor? Brad Pitt's walking all over this train, and where is the conductor during this? How does he only see him once the whole time? It's crazy. Anyway, moving on. What's the next note? I'm almost done here. Let's see. Boop, 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 boop. So Thomas the Tank Engine. I already said this sort of, but yeah, one of the characters loves it. Oh, Shozy Swindle. Hi. Oh yeah. Oh, I see what you're doing. No, thank you. Ooh. Do 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 do. I blocked you, I think. Get out of here. Alright. How to get out of here? Do I have my mods with me? Spaghetti, do you know how to get rid of this shit? I'm so bad at this. Oh well, we'll just continue. Oh, what do we have here? Oh yeah, Thomas the Tank Engine. One of the characters is just obsessed with Thomas the Tank Engine, and he keeps bringing it up. That he can read people by saying like, "Oh, you're a diesel, you're this kind of train," and he can read people that way. And I like that part of the movie. I thought it added a nice layer to it. And this was another thing that I liked. This was another positive review. The bottle of water's journey. So this bottle of water, this bottle of Fiji water, some nice product placement too, by the way. But we see the whole journey of it, and I like how they do this scene, because they show of all the shit that's happened. It's got the powder put into it. It was bought by accident. The guy who bought the bottle of water actually meant to get a bubble tea, but then he got the water, and then it got put the sleeping powder in it, and then the bottle gets thrown. It has it has its own arc almost, the water bottle, and I kind of like that quick little scene where they show what the day was like for the water bottle. Anyway, everyone would be dead after that train crash. So, this is true. The train crash is crazy at the end. And I guess sort of spoiler alert, I should have said something, but like, I just have to say this part. People would be dead. These people on this train would be, there's just no way they would have survived this crash. Everyone would have been dead, and pretty much everyone is just okay. Even the guy that has a sword down his torso this far is just fine after being in a train crash that's catastrophically huge. It just is insane. It's too much to suspend my disbelief. I'm not buying it. It was kind of a fun ending, but the whole time I'm just like, okay, this is too ridiculous. This would not happen like this. But I get it's a movie, but I have to bring the realism into it, because it takes place in the real world. So it's fun. It's fun for me to try to like fact check it in a way. Anyways, Bullet Train. Let's give it a rating. I liked it, but it's okay. It was okay. Not great. Maybe good. Okay to good, I'd give it on a scale like that. But on a 1 to 10 scale, we're going to give it a 7.4. Seems random, but it seems right, too. Bullet Train, I'm giving it a 7.4 out of 10. Like I said, it's just a little over the top. Some things don't make sense. But it is really fun. Brad Pitt does a good job. Interesting script. I think it's pretty well written. And I like the movie overall. Bullet Train, 7.4 out of 10 ducks.